Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely, because sometimes in life, a woman has to stand alone. It's rarely a choice born of desire, but rather a profound recognition. The people around her no longer match the exquisite quality of her soul. When you journey through this world, you'll witness countless individuals clinging to others, not for genuine connection, but merely to fill the aching silence, to chase away the persistent shadow of loneliness. But a woman who consciously chooses to walk alone, that's a woman who truly understands the immense, raw power lying dormant within her. There's an undeniable, almost magnetic strength in walking alone, particularly for a woman. Independence and self-sufficiency aren't gifts bestowed overnight. They are painstakingly forged in the fires of experience, etched through trials, and often meticulously honed in the quiet crucible of solitude. A woman who stands confidently on her own 2 feet, who needs no superficial network of friends to affirm her worth, isn't just surviving the world. She is fiercely thriving in her own glorious right. She knows deep in her bones that her power isn't drawn from the transient presence of others, but from the unyielding, boundless wellspring within her very soul. This isn't just about getting by, it's about owning her entire existence unflinchingly. In a world that incessantly glorifies companionship, celebrating every social connection as the pinnacle of human existence, it's alarmingly easy to forget the raw, untamed power of true independence. Society relentlessly whispers, often shouts, that you absolutely need a tribe, an elaborate support system, or an unbreakable crew to navigate the winding roads of life. But here's a quiet truth that echoes deeper than any societal roar. Not every soul is built to walk comfortably with the crowd. A woman who consciously chooses independence has undertaken the most profound journey of self-reliance, because she inherently understands that when all the external noise fades, when the shadows lengthen, she is the only one who truly, undeniably, has her own back. It's a fundamental, unwavering promise she makes to herself. This deep-seated self-sufficiency isn't about cruelly rejecting all relationships or deliberately pushing people away. It's a profound, liberating understanding. It's the realization that while connections can be incredibly valuable, enriching tapestries in her life, they never define her. She doesn't cling to friendships, desperately needing them to validate her existence, confirm her importance, or certify her worth. Her worth is a sacred, intrinsic truth she meticulously defines for herself, a shimmering inner jewel she carries, fiercely protected, every single day. When the inevitable challenges rise like sudden storms, she doesn't frantically run to others, seeking their comfort or their pre-packaged answers. Instead, she turns inward, trusting the ancient wisdom of her instincts, the deep reservoir of her knowledge, and the invaluable lessons forged in her experiences. This formidable internal strength, this quiet, unwavering conviction, is precisely what distinguishes her from those who feel utterly lost, adrift, and without anchor, when deprived of external opinions and constant support. When a woman cultivates true self-sufficiency, she doesn't just adapt, she becomes utterly unshakable, like bedrock. She doesn't shatter into fragments when friendships gracefully conclude, or people inevitably exit her life stage. She doesn't crumble beneath the weight of adversity, no matter how daunting. Instead, she instinctively taps into a profound, secret reservoir of inner strength, that deep, sacred well of resilience she has meticulously, quietly, built brick by precious brick over time. She has learned, with absolute clarity, that the sole person she can truly count on, without question or compromise, is herself. And this isn't merely enough, it is everything. This formidable posture isn't solely about emotional resilience in the face of pain. It's about the radical freedom of navigating every twist and turn of life without needing constant affirmation or seeking approval from anyone else's gaze. She makes her own unequivocal decisions, owning them fully, because she fundamentally understands that her life is not just a life. It is hers to sculpt, to paint, to fiercely shape. But independence also manifests as having the quiet, unwavering courage to stand alone, absolutely unyielding in her core beliefs, her deepest values, and her personal, singular vision for life. It's tragically easy to get swept up in the collective current, to blindly follow fleeting trends and melt into the anonymity of the crowd. Yet, a truly self-sufficient woman holds no interest in merely doing what's easy or what's popular. Her unwavering gaze is fixed solely on doing what resonates profoundly, authentically, and right for her soul. This profound level of independence demands a soaring self-awareness and an unshakable confidence, qualities tragically undeveloped in many who remain perpetually tethered to the endless pursuit of pleasing others. But a woman who truly stands alone, anchored deeply within herself, has mastered the art of tuning out the ceaseless, deafening roar of society's expectations. She doesn't just hear her own voice, she listens to it, deeply, reverently, to her unique needs, making every decision a sacred pact aligned with her authentic self. This isn't merely a survival skill, a grim coping mechanism. It is the purest, most exhilarating form of empowerment. A woman imbued with this deep inner strength knows she can rely on herself unequivocally in any situation life dares to present. She transcends the need to depend on others to fix her problems or to nervously guide her through every single step. Instead, she metamorphoses into her own brilliant guide, charting a course uniquely her own, confidently carving out her irreplaceable space in this vast world. This caliber of self-sufficiency is exceedingly rare, a beacon of light, and it is precisely what enables her to truly thrive, radiating strength and purpose, even as she walks her magnificent path alone. One of the most profound aspects of independence blossoms into fierce self-reliance, not merely in the grand act of making pivotal decisions, but woven into the very fabric of every single area of her life. A truly self-sufficient woman doesn't just survive, she proactively learns how to tenderly yet powerfully care for herself, mentally, emotionally, and physically. She refuses to wait passively for some savior to swoop in, rescuing her from challenges or magically fixing her problems. No, she boldly claims full, exhilarating responsibility for her own incandescent happiness, her vibrant health, and the unfolding tapestry of her future. This conscious act of self-sovereignty is what imbues her with such phenomenal power. She is, by her very nature, not at the mercy of anyone else's whims, opinions, or presence. She is her own anchor, her own steadfast harbour. This self-reliance, however, must not be mistaken for an unapproachable isolation or a heart completely closed off to the world. Quite the contrary. When she does choose to seek support, and she may, for true strength recognizes vulnerability, it is always, unfailingly, on her terms, from a place of conscious choice. She is never dependent on others for her fundamental survival, or for the very scaffolding of her sense of self. Instead, she has painstakingly constructed a life, brick by intentional brick, that she can wholly sustain on her own. And this, my friends, is not just rare, it is a monumentally powerful achievement. Paradoxically, this profound independence doesn't sever connections. It magnificently strengthens every genuine relationship she chooses to cultivate. When a woman stands self-sufficient, radiating completeness, she doesn't stumble into relationships out of a gaping need or a tremor of desperation. Oh no, she chooses to welcome people into her cherished life purely because she deeply values their presence, because their souls resonate with hers, never because she needs them as missing pieces to complete her already whole, beautiful self. This radical self-acceptance cultivates a rare alchemy of balance and profound respect within her relationships, a depth many people may never truly experience. More than anything, independence is an exquisite form of freedom. It doesn't just alleviate burdens, it gloriously frees her from the suffocating constraints of others' shifting opinions, their heavy expectations, and their often harsh judgments. It empowers her to confidently walk her own path, guided by the infallible beacon of her own inner compass, radiating an authentic light. A woman who embodies true self-sufficiency carries no fear of walking alone, because she carries an irrefutable, deeply held knowing. Wherever she sets foot, she is inherently, unequivocally enough. She understands that she possesses absolutely everything she needs, stored in the boundless vaults within herself, not merely to survive the world, but to majestically, vibrantly thrive. She knows, with an absolute, unwavering conviction, that it is the profound depth of her chosen relationships that truly enriches the vibrant mosaic of her life, never the superficial number, and flowing from this wisdom, self-reflection, and personal growth emerge as breathtakingly powerful, transformative forces in a woman's sacred journey. Solitude, often misunderstood and feared, doesn't just offer an environment, it provides the absolutely perfect, hallowed ground for these forces to majestically flourish. When a woman genuinely finds herself without the immediate buffer of a vast circle of friends, she is presented with an extraordinary, precious opportunity, a gift that countless individuals tragically overlook, the unparalleled chance to truly, profoundly understand herself on an infinitely deeper level. It's not to say that friendships offer no insight or no growth, they absolutely do, but solitude, pure and unadulterated, presents a rare, unbroken expanse where a woman can, without distraction or external influence, focus solely, intimately, on her own magnificent development. In this hallowed quiet space, self-reflection doesn't just happen, it becomes a precise, almost surgical tool that exquisitely sharpens her self-awareness, illuminates her intrinsic strengths, and supercharges her astonishing ability to not just survive, but to truly thrive. In a world relentlessly choked with external noise and ceaseless social interaction, it becomes perilously easy to lose the precious, fragile thread of who you truly are. So many among us, unconsciously perhaps, define the very essence of ourselves by the roles we inhabit within our relationships. Friend, daughter, partner, colleague. But when those external relationships, for whatever reason, are absent or recede, what then is truly left? This is precisely where the profound alchemical magic of solitude unveils itself. Without the crushing weight of external expectations or the endless demands to fulfill predefined social roles, a woman is, at last, stripped bare to her fundamental self. This invaluable time alone isn't a void to be feared. It transforms into a sacred, unparalleled opportunity to grapple with the most urgent foundational questions. What do I deeply want for my life? What do I, without external influence, truly believe in? Who, at my absolute core, am I when no one else is watching, when no one else is around to cast their shadow or their light upon me? These profound questions are far from facile. They demand an unsparing, radical honesty that most souls actively, skillfully avoid. But a woman in the sacred crucible of solitude does not possess the luxury of such avoidance. She confronts herself head-on, unflinchingly, standing eye to eye with her unvarnished truth. Crucially, this self-reflection isn't an exercise in harsh judgment or self-flagellation. It's an act of profound self-love, a tender yet fearless journey inward, fueled by boundless compassion and insatiable curiosity. It's about excavating the rich soil of your experiences, unearthing your deepest desires, confronting your most primal fears, and rekindling your most vibrant dreams. It's about meticulously understanding the unseen currents that propel you forward and the invisible chains that subtly hold you back. This deep, sometimes unsettling process is never effortlessly comfortable, but it is unequivocally essential for authentic growth. Through this relentless introspection, she begins to decode the intricate patterns of her own behavior, recognize the subtle triggers of her emotions, and keenly discern her nascent strengths alongside her lingering weaknesses. In the absence of demanding friendships, she is gifted an unprecedented, boundless expanse of time to immerse herself unapologetically in her own being, in ways that were previously unimaginable. There's no draining distraction of perpetually needing to be on for others, no relentless external pressure, subtly or overtly, shaping her most private thoughts and her most fundamental actions. She breathes finally as her unadulterated self. This profound solitude becomes a sanctified space where she can, at long last, truly listen to the often muted melody of her own authentic voice, utterly without interruption. This singular ability is utterly crucial, for in the ceaseless clamour, the frenetic hustle and bustle of constant social interactions, it is perilously easy for her sacred inner voice to be irrevocably drowned out by the thunderous opinions and pervasive expectations of others. But when she retreats into her magnificent solitude, that voice emerges, pure and crystalline, and oh, how much it has to say. As she patiently, deeply listens to the wisdom bubbling within her, she awakens to a liberating truth. Personal growth is not some fleeting one-time achievement to be ticked off a list. No, it is a magnificent, ongoing, lifelong journey. Every poignant experience, every daunting challenge, every heart-wrenching failure, each transforms into an invaluable opportunity to profoundly learn and gloriously evolve. The very solitude she inhabits becomes an intensely fertile ground, a vibrant garden for this deeply rooted growth. Without the pervasive, sometimes coercive influence of friends to subtly sculpt her thoughts or gently coerce her opinions, she begins to form her own unfiltered perspective, unburdened by the relentless human need for external approval. This blossoming independence of thought is breathtakingly empowering, for it allows her to finally see the world with unclouded vision through her own unique, sovereign lens, and never again through the distorted collective gaze of a group. This profound period of self-reflection also serves as an incandescent beacon, guiding her unflinchingly towards any lingering, unresolved issues festering deep within herself. For it's a universal, often unacknowledged truth. Sometimes we inadvertently wield friendships as a clever, intricate shield, a potent distraction from the uncomfortable truths we desperately wish to avoid facing, whether it be gnawing emotional pain, deeply rooted insecurities, or the haunting echo of unmet aspirations. But when there are no convenient friendships to subtly or overtly divert her precious attention, a woman is, by life's quiet command, compelled to confront these raw issues head-on without recourse. This confrontation, let us be honest, can be deeply, intensely challenging, yet it is simultaneously the most powerful, liberating form of healing imaginable. She learns painstakingly to tenderly address her past wounds, to bravely disentangle herself from the stifling grip of old narratives, and to defiantly embrace a luminous future where she is no longer perpetually weighed down by the heavy, suffocating chains of unresolved emotions. Another truly powerful aspect, and often underestimated gift of solitude, is the transformative opportunity it bestows upon her, the chance to profoundly recognize and ultimately own her own breathtaking resilience. Without a convenient circle of others to instinctively lean on, she embarks on a solo journey of profound self-discovery. She unearths the astonishing truth that she is indeed fully capable of masterfully handling life's most formidable challenges entirely on her own terms. Through this crucible, she blossoms, becoming extraordinarily resourceful, fiercely independent, and exquisitely confident in her intrinsic ability to deftly navigate life's inevitable, unpredictable ups and downs. She internalizes the profound lesson that her worth is not contingent on external validation, nor does she need to perpetually rely on others for support. She awakens to the fierce, unyielding wellspring of inner strength that equips her to face whatever tempestuous tides life dares to throw her way. This potent realization ignites and passionately fosters an unwavering, deep-seated sense of self-trust, an inner compass, arguably the most invaluable possession a human being can ever hope to acquire. When a woman authentically, implicitly trusts herself, she quite simply becomes an unstoppable force of nature. But this profound self-reflection isn't merely a stoic confrontation of difficulties, it is so much more. It is also a jubilant, soul-affirming act of recognizing and resoundingly celebrating her every success, large and small. In the profound hush and quiet sanctity of solitude, a woman is granted the sacred space to serenely reflect on the extraordinary distance she has traveled, the arduous peaks she has summited, and the silent victories she has claimed. Here, she can fully, unapologetically acknowledge her accomplishments without the insidious need to downplay them, diminish their brilliance, or anxiously seek external validation from a discerning audience. She can fiercely celebrate her own continuous growth, the elegant arc of her resilience, and the shimmering, unique qualities that irrevocably weave together to make her precisely who she magnificently is. This potent, deeply internalized process of self-acknowledgement doesn't just build self-esteem, it adamantly, exquisitely reinforces the undeniable truth, echoing in her very core, that she is already, profoundly, enough, exactly as she is in all her glorious entirety. Through this arduous yet exhilarating journey of self-reflection, a woman also unearths a luminous, crystalline clarity about the deepest desires shaping her future. She becomes empowered to set goals that resonate fiercely, unequivocally, with her true inner desires, unmarred by the distorting lens of others' expectations or the whispers of societal pressure. She cultivates an astonishing intentionality about the magnificent life she yearns to build, the purposeful career she is compelled to pursue, and the authentic, deeply connected relationships she is determined to cultivate. When the influence of a bustling social circle recedes from the foreground, there's no longer the suffocating, silent pressure to meekly conform to a particular lifestyle or a predefined path. Instead, she stands utterly, gloriously free to chart her own audacious course, guided solely by the unwavering stars of her intrinsic values and the powerful currents of her highest aspirations. In her magnificent solitude, a woman makes a truly revolutionary discovery. Personal growth in its most profound, soul-stirring form is not something exclusively tethered to the presence of others. In fact, some of the most breathtakingly profound transformations, the deepest metamorphoses, occur precisely when she stands alone, when she possesses the sacred grace and undisturbed expanse to courageously reflect, wisely reassess, and meticulously rebuild herself, not from the outside in, but from the very core of her being, outward. This profound evolution isn't marked by sudden, dramatic upheavals. It is a quiet, yet utterly relentless, steady, and utterly transformative process. It's not about orchestrating grand, sweeping changes all at once. Rather, it's about the exquisite, gradual unfolding, the deliberate evolution that takes place when a woman makes the courageous choice to genuinely know herself, to tenderly nurture her own precious spirit, and to allow herself to magnificently grow in ways that resonate deeply, uniquely, and authentically for her. From this sacred journey, solitude emerges not as a burden or a void, but as an inestimable, transcendent gift. It lovingly bestows a hallowed space for unflinching self-reflection, for profound healing of unseen wounds, and for exponential personal growth, a sanctuary that is utterly impossible to discover amidst the clamorous, ceaseless noise and superficial demands of the external world. A woman who, by circumstance or design, finds herself without a conventional circle of friends, truly lacks no essential connection. On the contrary, she possesses the single most vital, enduring connection of all, the deep, unbreakable, and self-sustaining bond she has forged, with unwavering love, with her own magnificent self. One of the most profoundly empowering, life-altering realizations a woman can ever embrace is this: she simply does not need to painfully contort herself to conform to society's often stifling, arbitrary expectations in order to forge a truly rich and fulfilling life. When a woman courageously chooses to forge a distinctive path, one unadorned by the comforting, yet often restrictive presence of a vast group of friends, she is, in essence, making a radical, defiant rejection of the pervasive notion that her intrinsic worth is somehow inextricably tied to her social connections or her transient popularity. Society, with its relentless judging gaze, habitually places an obscenely high value on being perpetually surrounded by others, mistakenly equating social status with the sheer number of friends or casual acquaintances a person can boast. But a woman who walks alone, with dignified intent, has learned an undeniable truth etched in her very bones. Her inherent, incomparable value is never determined by how many people she knows, nor by how frequently her face appears in shimmering social circles. This conscious, powerful decision to live her authentic truth, to blaze her own trail in spite of immense, suffocating societal pressure, demands a level of formidable strength. Society, in its myriad forms, relentlessly bombards us with the insistent message that to attain success, happiness, or fulfillment, one must meticulously fit into a rigid, often uncomfortable mold, a mold that invariably demands perpetual high sociality, unwavering engagement in group activities, and the cultivation of an expansive, influential network. Yet, a woman who intimately understands her profound, intrinsic worth possesses the piercing clarity to recognize these as utterly superficial, fleeting standards. She gazes far, far beyond the shimmering surface, seeing through the illusions, and realizing with breathtaking certainty that her true, immeasurable value radiates purely from within. From the blazing brilliance of her unique talents, the unshakable integrity of her character, the keen expanse of her mind, and the boundless compassion of her heart. Not from how neatly she manages to contort herself into society's tragically limited, often hollow definitions of success. To truly live authentically means embodying a stark, empowering understanding. Conformity is a deceptively gilded trap. It is seductively easy to slide into the numbing habit of tirelessly trying to please others, to perpetually perform what's expected, rather than defiantly honoring what resonates as undeniably right for your own soul. Society, with its insidious charm, adores dictating precisely how women should act, who they should befriend, and what prefabricated lives they should meticulously lead. But a woman who has found profound peace and glorious strength within her solitude has, with breathtaking courage, freed herself from these invisible yet ironclad constraints. She is no longer merely playing a carefully constructed role to fit snugly into someone else's mundane narrative. Instead, she is the sole, magnificent author, fiercely writing her own enthralling script, bravely defining her unique, unparalleled path, and unapologetically living her life entirely on her own sacred terms. This profound, almost sacred decision to live authentically is rarely impulsive. It typically blossoms like a rare desert flower after an intensive, crucible-like period of deep self-reflection and expansive growth. A woman who has deliberately carved out solitude, who has journeyed deep within and truly, intimately known herself, unfailingly recognizes the paramount, non-negotiable importance of being relentlessly true to the woman she authentically is. She understands, with absolute clarity, that any attempt to awkwardly, painfully conform to the suffocating, often meaningless demands of societal expectations inevitably leads only to corrosive frustration, pervasive unhappiness, and an aching sense of profound disconnection from her genuine, magnificent self. By courageously stepping away from the anonymous crush of the crowd and bravely embracing the luminous tapestry of her unique individuality, she becomes exquisitely aligned with her truest purpose, her fiercest passions, and her most cherished, deeply personal goals. The freedom, the exhilarating, untamed emancipation that erupts from resolutely rejecting the oppressive weight of societal pressures is nothing short of soul-liberating. When a woman finally ceases to fret, to agonize, to exhaust herself worrying about the ephemeral opinions of others, an entire universe of possibility unfurls. She becomes gloriously able to concentrate, with laser-like focus, on what truly, unequivocally matters in her unique, precious life. She transcends the desperate need for external approval to feel validated, and she no longer feels the gnawing compulsion to meekly follow the crowd merely to feel included. No, she stands resolute, imbued with a quiet, yet formidable confidence in her own carefully chosen decisions, even and especially when those choices lead her down a boldly divergent path, dramatically different from the one society has so neatly, so blandly prescribed. This inner fortress of confidence is precisely what empowers her to stand utterly firm, unyielding in her convictions and decisions, even when they defiantly go against the most deeply ingrained grain. This magnificent choice to live authentically, however, must never be misconstrued as a cold rejection of all social connections or a bleak isolation from the vibrant pulse of the world. Quite the opposite, in fact. It signifies a profound, intentional selectivity, a fierce, uncompromising discernment about precisely who she lovingly allows into the sacred confines of her life. She carefully, consciously surrounds herself with souls who honor and respect her for the radiant woman she intrinsically is, never for a projected version they might wish her to be. She tirelessly seeks out relationships woven from the golden threads of mutual understanding, unshakable respect, and unwavering honesty, firmly eschewing connections built on flimsy superficiality or mere social convenience. By operating from this place of unwavering integrity, she doesn't just create a life. She architects an existence exquisitely rich in genuine meaning and profound connection, even if the intimate circle she cherishes remains intentionally, wonderfully small. Living authentically also demands a courageous, full-hearted embrace of a deeply inconvenient truth. Her sacred, evolving journey will, by its very nature, look fundamentally, gloriously different from countless others. Society, with its relentless, judgmental clock, incessantly prods and pushes women to adhere to rigid, arbitrary timelines. By a certain age, you should have a specific number of friends, a certain polished social life, and even a neatly curated list of accomplishments. But a woman who defiantly, joyfully rejects these suffocating pressures possesses the innate wisdom to understand with absolute clarity that there exists no singular, one-size-fits-all blueprint for a life truly well lived. She knows in her heart of hearts that her own journey is utterly unique, an unrepeatable masterpiece, and she is profoundly, gracefully at peace with that truth. She is not frantically engaged in a futile, exhausting race to reach someone else's externally defined milestones. Instead, her entire being is harmoniously focused on her own exquisite growth, her own radiant happiness, and the fearless, magnificent unfolding of her own singular, incomparable path. This radical, breathtaking mindset shift is not merely powerful, it is utterly transformative, for it finally grants a woman the divine grace to live her life steeped in unshakable integrity. She transcends the endless cycle of making decisions rooted in the stifling expectations of others. Instead, every choice, every step is a deliberate, conscious echo of what unequivocally feels right for her own deepest truth. This incandescent level of authenticity is a boundless source of profound inner peace, because she is liberated from the relentless, exhausting burden of striving to meet unrealistic, externally imposed standards. She casts aside the suffocating weight of pretense, no longer performing a carefully constructed facade or agonizingly attempting to be someone she is fundamentally not. Instead, she shows up in the world with radiant courage as her true, glorious self, unapologetically, magnificently, irrevocably, and it is this very magnetic authenticity that, like an invisible force, naturally draws the most resonant, the most genuine, the right kind of people and life-altering opportunities directly into the luminous sphere of her existence. When a woman makes this fearless, monumental choice to live her life in radiant authenticity, she transforms, consciously or unconsciously, into a profound, shimmering role model. Others cannot help but witness her immense courage to sculpt and live life entirely on her own magnificent terms. And this sight, this living example, invariably sparks within them a nascent, courageous fire, inspiring them to dare to do the same. By resolutely rejecting the relentless, stifling pressure to conform, she extends an invisible, yet potent, permission slip to countless others, a sacred invitation to bravely embrace their own unique, shimmering individuality. This powerful ripple effect is nothing short of revolutionary, for it audaciously challenges deeply entrenched societal norms and ignites a vital, urgent spark in others, compelling them to question the often suffocating status quo. At its radiant core, living authentically is an unwavering act of profound self-trust, trusting, with every fiber of your being, that you inherently possess the singular wisdom to know precisely precisely what is best for your magnificent life, even if that exquisite truth looks dramatically divergent from the path so many others walk. It is a liberating, crystalline understanding that your immeasurable value flows not from ephemeral external sources, but from an unshakable, luminous wellspring deep within your very soul. A woman who treads this sacred, solitary path grasps with resolute certainty that she requires no fleeting validation from friends, no approval from the echoing chambers of society to feel truly worthy. Oh no, she knows her worth, a precious, inviolable truth, and she carries it like an inner sun, unafraid to boldly, beautifully live in a way that unequivocally honors that truth. This courageous, incandescent choice to live authentically, to soar majestically free from the suffocating pressures of conformity, is, in its purest essence, the most profound declaration of self-love imaginable. It is an exquisite pronouncement that her own deeply felt happiness, her cherished inner peace, and her singular burning purpose are immeasurably more significant, more sacrosanct, than agonizingly contorting herself to fit into someone else's often limiting, dull idea of what her life should entail. In bravely choosing to live this way, she unlocks the deepest, most exhilarating true freedom, the glorious freedom to simply be herself, fully and completely, the exhilarating freedom to fearlessly pursue her deepest, most ardent passions, and the ultimate freedom to meticulously create a life that is resoundingly, gloriously fulfilling, entirely on her own exquisite terms. And that, my friends, is not just a life. It's a profound existence worth truly living. Indeed, one of the most breathtakingly profound benefits a woman garners from the quiet depths of solitude is the unparalleled opportunity to forge an unbreakable emotional resilience and an indomitable inner independence. Stripped of the often unconscious buffer of constant companionship, she finds herself, by necessity, navigating the intricate, tempestuous landscape of her emotional world entirely on her own magnificent terms. This crucible-like journey of self-reliance might initially dawn out of sheer necessity, born of circumstances, but it invariably, thrillingly transforms into one of her most enduring and potent strengths. In a world where so many souls instinctively, habitually look to others for comforting emotional support, for fleeting validation, or even for convenient distraction from their deepest inner struggles, a woman who bravely walks alone undergoes a profound tutelage, learning to fiercely rely on her own internal compass in ways that countless others may never even begin to comprehend. It's undeniable. When you are gently cradled within the comforting embrace of friendships or purposefully ensconced in the midst of vibrant social connections, it is effortlessly, perhaps even unconsciously, easy to lean on others during life's inevitable, challenging seasons. Whether it's seeking sagely advice, passionately venting frustrations, or simply needing the quiet solace of someone to truly listen, there's a primal, undeniable comfort in the perceived security of another's presence. But when those external friendships, for whatever reason, are genuinely absent or recede, it serves as an internal, powerful summons. It forces a woman to embark on a solitary expedition, to excavate deep, deep within her own being, not for external answers, but for her own inherent wisdom, for an unyielding source of strength, and for an internal, unshakable stability. This profound, sometimes terrifying process of turning resolutely inward doesn't merely build resilience. It forges a level of emotional fortitude, an unbreakable inner constitution that is simply unmatched. True emotional resilience is not merely the passive ability to bounce back from adversity. It is the vibrant, proactive power to not just handle life's inevitable, often brutal challenges, but to confront them with an unwavering spirit, never succumbing to the overwhelming currents. A woman who immerses herself in the sacred embrace of solitude forges a distinct path. She doesn't possess the cushioning luxury of constant external support, so she is compelled, beautifully, to cultivate this profound resilience from deep within the core of her own being. She metamorphoses into her own most reliable source of comfort, her own unyielding wellspring of strength. This formidable self-mastery doesn't imply a cold suppression of her emotions, nor a deceptive pretense that everything is perfectly fine when it unequivocally is not. On the contrary, she faces her turbulent emotions head-on, unflinchingly, granting herself the sacred permission to feel them in their raw, unfiltered depth. But crucially, she also learns, with quiet discipline, how to masterfully navigate and manage those potent feelings in a healthy, productive, and ultimately empowering way. As a direct consequence, a woman becomes exquisitely, intimately in tune with the subtle symphony of her own emotions. Without the ceaseless hum and insistent distractions of social interaction, she is gifted the vast, internal expanse to truly, profoundly process every tremor, every echo of what she is feeling. She learns the quiet, yet immensely difficult art of sitting patiently with discomfort, of deftly navigating the swirling currents of sadness, the searing flames of anger, or the icy grip of fear, all without impulsively reaching for someone else to magically make her feel better. This burgeoning emotional independence is not merely powerful, it is utterly revelatory, for it deeply, fundamentally teaches her that she possesses no desperate need for anyone else to validate her authentic feelings or to fix her as she grapples with them. She awakens to the astonishing realization that she is magnificently, entirely capable of masterfully managing her own vast, intricate emotional landscape on her own. And this profound truth, this unwavering conviction, meticulously builds an unshakable inner strength, an unyielding bedrock of self-trust. When a woman genuinely knows, unequivocally, that she can rely on herself emotionally, she becomes demonstrably less vulnerable, less buffeted by the tumultuous ups and downs of life's relentless currents. Her security, her profound sense of contentment, is no longer precariously tethered to the transient presence or conditional approval of others. This formidable, hard-won emotional resilience becomes her personal armor, allowing her to face life's most daunting challenges head-on, unflinchingly, without collapsing or crumbling under their immense weight. This is not to say she floats through life untouched by the sharp edges of pain or the crushing blows of hardship. Quite the contrary, but she has internalized a vital, empowering truth. She has meticulously learned how to process those often overwhelming emotions in a profoundly constructive way that doesn't leave her feeling perpetually powerless or eternally victimized. Furthermore, this deliberate cultivation of emotional resilience, nurtured in the sacred quietude of solitude, bestows upon her another invaluable lesson. It teaches a woman the fierce, non-negotiable art of setting impeccably clear, profoundly protective boundaries. When one is perpetually, unrelentingly surrounded by others, it's tragically effortless to lose the delicate thread of one's own deepest needs, often sacrificed on the altar of people-pleasing or the desperate illusion of maintaining an external harmony in relationships. But a woman who walks alone, deliberately choosing her own company, learns a transformative truth. She must prioritize her own sacred emotional well-being above all else. She finally, profoundly understands that she simply does not have to be everything for everyone, nor does she have to tolerate relationships that voraciously drain her life force or insidiously compromise her hard-won inner peace. Solitude, like a crystal-clear mirror, grants her the exquisite clarity to discern what is truly, unequivocally important for her spirit, and what she can, with quiet resolve, lovingly let go of. And most vitally, it bestows upon her the unshakable courage to not only define, but to enforce those essential boundaries without a single whisper of corrosive guilt. This magnificent emotional independence, let's be unequivocally clear, is never about a cold, deliberate self-isolation or a blanket avoidance of all human relationships. Rather, its profound truth is this. It means she gracefully, consciously enters relationships not from a place of gaping neediness or gnawing insecurity, but from an undeniable foundation of radiant strength and luminous wholeness. She harbors no desperate illusions that others are there to fill gaping emotional voids in her life, because she has already undertaken the arduous yet profoundly rewarding work of meticulously, lovingly filling those very gaps herself. This inner completeness, this radical self-sufficiency, empowers her to approach every connection with a healthy, respectful sense of compassionate detachment. She deeply values genuine connection, treasuring its presence, but she never desperately clings to it out of a primal, terrorizing fear of being alone. No, she is exquisitely comfortable, gloriously at peace with her own vibrant self, and that deep, unshakable comfort, that inner glow, radiates outwards, effortlessly elevating the quality and authenticity of every single relationship she chooses to form. Another breathtakingly powerful facet of cultivated emotional resilience is the invaluable gift it bestows upon a woman, the profound ability to navigate the piercing stings of rejection and the crushing weight of disappointment with an unparalleled inner grace. When you have deliberately carved out sacred time in solitude, when you have meticulously, painstakingly learned to navigate the labyrinthine currents of your emotions entirely independently, you transcend mere reactivity to external circumstances. Should someone cause you profound disappointment, should a cherished relationship painfully unravel, or should life, in its unpredictable cruelty, hurl an unexpected volley of challenges your way, you will not shatter, you will not crumble. You have already internalized the potent wisdom of how to stand immutably strong within your fortified solitude, how to meticulously, lovingly pick yourself up, dusting off the debris without desperately needing someone else to do that essential work for you. This forged inner strength makes you infinitely more adaptable, more pliable, and remarkably less prone to being violently thrown off course by life's inevitable relentless twists and unforeseen turns. The twin forces of profound independence and sacred solitude bestow upon a woman another invaluable grace. They allow her to forge a stronger, far more deeply rooted sense of self-worth. When you are no longer perpetually, unconsciously, or even desperately seeking validation from the external mirrors of others' opinions, an astonishing shift occurs. You begin to perceive your own immeasurable value in an entirely new, luminous light. You awaken to the undeniable truth that your inherent worth is not, and never will be, tenuously tied to the fleeting number of friends you collect, the frequency of social invitations gracing your calendar, or the volume of ephemeral approval you might glean from others. Instead, your profound, enduring worth radiates like a steady inner sun, purely from within, from the exquisite mosaic of your unshakable character, the unwavering beacon of your integrity, and the tenacious, unbreakable spirit that enables you to relentlessly persevere through even the most arduous, bone-deep, difficult times. This profound, self-generated internal validation becomes, unequivocally, infinitely more meaningful, more sustaining than any ephemeral external praise or fleeting commendation could ever hope to be. Through this deeply transformative journey of hard-won emotional resilience and radical independence, a woman also evolves into an exquisitely self-aware being. She gains a piercing, intuitive understanding of her deepest emotional triggers, the intricate patterns of her inner world, and the untapped reservoirs of her formidable strengths. With newfound clarity, she learns precisely what genuinely ignites her happiness, what truly fulfills her spirit, and what profoundly brings her lasting, unshakable peace. And armed with this invaluable self-knowledge, she begins, with magnificent intention, to meticulously construct her entire life around those intrinsic, soul-affirming truths, rather than perpetually chasing elusive fulfillment from fickle external sources. This extraordinary level of sovereign self-awareness is not just empowering, it is the ultimate liberation, for it grants her the very tools to navigate every twist and turn of life with unyielding intention and breathtaking clarity. Indeed, emotional resilience and radiant independence are not mere traits, they are profound, sacred gifts meticulously forged in the transformative crucible of solitude. A woman who, through courageous self-work, learns to stand unwavering, emotionally self-sufficient, becomes utterly, beautifully unbreakable. She is no longer easily swayed by the capricious currents of others' opinions, no longer precariously dependent on fleeting external support to feel secure or complete. And crucially, she holds no desperate fear of being alone. Instead, she consciously, reverently embraces her profound solitude, not as a void, but as an inexhaustible spring of potent strength and boundless growth. She understands, with an absolute, undeniable conviction, that true, unassailable power emanates solely from within her, from the very core of her being, and that no matter what storms life inevitably hurls her way, she possesses the vast, inherent inner resources to meet every challenge, not just with endurance, but with an exquisite, dignified grace and an unwavering resilience. This journey doesn't just make her stronger, it imbues her with a profound, serene peace, a deep harmony with herself and with the beautiful, complex world around her. When a woman embarks upon this brave path of walking alone, something miraculous unfurls. She naturally, organically begins to prioritize her own profound growth and sacred well-being in ways that are, more often than not, tragically overlooked, stifled by the ceaseless demands of constant companionship or the clamorous din of social noise. In the hallowed, expansive space of solitude, she discovers an exquisite, crystal-clear clarity, the gift of focusing, with absolute precision, on what truly, genuinely matters to her beating heart, on what lovingly nurtures her vibrant soul, and on the unwavering compass pointing toward the magnificent, authentic life she deeply, undeniably desires. In this boundless realm of true independence, her focus doesn't just shift, it powerfully, irrevocably pivots inward, making profound personal growth and sacred self-care not mere aspirations, but the luminous, undeniable bedrock of her daily life. Without the endless, insistent distractions of external relationships or the often onerous obligations of maintaining a myriad of social connections, she reclaims a glorious, expansive freedom. The freedom to pose to herself the most vital, soul-stirring questions. What do I truly, truly want out of this precious life? What incandescent joy, genuinely, deeply, makes me happy? What essential alchemy do I need to painstakingly work on within my own spirit to magnificently become the highest, most authentic version of myself? These foundational, often uncomfortable reflections are tragically overlooked, relentlessly suppressed, when one is perpetually consumed by the relentless demands of friendships, family, or the crushing weight of societal expectations. But when a woman walks alone, she is gifted the invaluable, singular opportunity to turn inward, to prioritize, with unwavering conviction, her own unique growth and development, entirely unburdened by the clamorous din of other people's opinions or external pressures. Personal growth in this hallowed context unfurls in myriad, breathtaking facets. It's not merely about acquiring new skills or scaling the peaks of career goals, however commendable those aspirations may be. No, it delves far deeper into her emotional, spiritual, and mental landscapes. It's about blossoming into exquisite self-awareness, dissecting her nuanced emotional triggers, recognizing her nascent strengths alongside her lingering vulnerabilities, and summoning the unshakable courage to lovingly confront those tender areas within herself that yearn for profound improvement and healing. A woman who courageously walks her path alone cultivates an astonishingly deep, penetrating sense of self-awareness. This is precisely because she finally possesses the sacred, unobstructed time and expansive mental space to truly, profoundly reflect on her every thought, her every behavior, untainted by external distractions or judgmental gazes. She doesn't just learn about self-care, she internalizes its profound, life-altering value, not in the superficial, fleeting sense of pampering or temporary indulgences, but in the exquisite, deeper realization of genuinely, holistically nurturing her precious mind, vibrant body, and luminous spirit. She awakens to the revolutionary truth that self-care is an absolute, non-negotiable, essential bedrock of her overall well-being, never a mere luxury to be indulged only when she's utterly burned out or teetering on the edge of exhaustion. Empowered by this realization, she begins, with exquisite intention, to prioritize activities that authentically replenish her sacred energy, whether that manifests as invigorating exercise, profound meditation, soul-stirring reading, reflective journaling, or simply basking in the restorative embrace of nature. In diligently weaving these practices into the very fabric of her days, she cultivates an unshakable, luminous sense of inner peace that becomes the profound, unwavering foundation of her entire existence. This sacred prioritization of self-care profoundly transforms her relationship with time itself. She becomes meticulously, exquisitely intentional with every fleeting moment. A woman who walks alone, with profound clarity, truly understands that her time is an irreplaceable, sacred currency. She categorically refuses to squander it on activities or with individuals who act as insidious drains on her precious, vibrant energy. With a quiet, unyielding discernment, she becomes ferociously selective about how she allocates her days, concentrating with laser-like focus on what genuinely, fundamentally contributes to her most authentic growth and deepest well-being. This deliberate intention might manifest as dedicating hours to beloved personal projects that stir her soul, fearlessly delving into learning new, challenging skills, or passionately immersing herself in hobbies that spark incandescent joy and profound fulfillment. She no longer feels the desperate, anachronistic pressure to ceaselessly cram her schedule with hollow, meaningless social interactions or burdensome obligations purely for the sake of fitting in. Instead, she consciously, courageously chooses activities that resonate, with harmonious precision, with her intrinsic values and unequivocally contribute to her soaring overall well-being. As she relentlessly, lovingly continues to prioritize her own magnificent growth, she also develops an exquisite comfort with the profound, vital practice of setting unshakable boundaries. When gracefully ensconced in solitude, away from the clamor, it becomes starkly, painfully clear where she has been habitually overextending herself, where she has, perhaps too often, allowed others to carelessly take advantage of her irreplaceable time and finite energy. Solitude, like an unblinking oracle, grants her the luminous clarity to recognize, with precise accuracy, precisely when she must, without apology, utter a resonant no, when she needs to fiercely protect her sacred peace, and when she needs to prioritize her own deepest, undeniable needs, unflinchingly, over the often insistent demands of others. This very act of establishing and maintaining boundaries isn't merely a technique, it is in its purest form a sacred declaration of self-care in itself, and profoundly, it helps her meticulously forge a vibrant, healthy balance between her carefully chosen relationships and her paramount personal well-being. This journey culminates in one of the most truly significant, soul-shattering shifts that unfurls when a woman walks alone. She begins, organically, to trust herself with an unparalleled, unshakable depth. Without the incessant, often confusing, input or overwhelming opinions of others perpetually swirling around her, she learns, intimately, to rely, with absolute faith, on her own innate judgment and her piercing intuition. She casts aside the weight of external expectations, courageously beginning to make every decision not based on what others might expect or politely suggest, but solely on what feels resonantly, irrevocably right for her authentic self. This deeply cultivated sense of self-trust is not just empowering, it is the ultimate, exhilarating liberation, for it allows her to move through every chapter of life with an unyielding confidence and an inspiring certainty. She entirely transcends the need to desperately seek approval or validation from any external source, instead becoming exquisitely, profoundly attuned to the sacred whisper of her own unerring inner voice. This blossoming, potent sense of self-trust, like a magnificent sunrise, illuminates and unfailingly leads to an even more profound, unshakable self-respect. When a woman steadfastly, fiercely prioritizes her own invaluable growth and sacred well-being, she doesn't just glimpse herself, she truly sees herself, bathed in an entirely new, radiant light. She unapologetically recognizes her intrinsic, boundless worth. A truth so undeniable that she vehemently refuses to ever settle for less than she profoundly, exquisitely deserves, whether that manifests in her deepest personal relationships, her chosen, purposeful career, or any other vital aspect of her cherished life. She doesn't just meet standards, she holds herself to an exquisitely higher, more discerning standard, precisely because she inherently knows, with every fiber of her being, that she is powerfully, limitlessly capable of achieving true, soul-driven greatness. This deeply cultivated self-respect transforms into an unerring, guiding force throughout her entire existence, empowering her to navigate even the most formidable challenges with a serene, unyielding dignity and an exceptional, captivating grace. In addition to the boundless realms of personal growth and sacred self-care, the precious embrace of solitude bestows upon a woman an extraordinary gift, the unparalleled opportunity to cultivate a deep, resonant, and unwavering sense of purpose. Without the clamorous distractions of endless social obligations or the sometimes insidious influence of others' desires, she is granted the pristine, internal space to courageously explore the profound forces that truly drive her soul. What ardent passions set her spirit ablaze, and what meaningful legacy, echoing through time, she fervently wishes to leave behind. This incandescent sense of purpose doesn't just offer clarity, it imbues her entire life with profound meaning and unerring direction. It becomes the inextinguishable fuel for her continuous growth and the powerful, persistent motivator compelling her to bravely continue pushing herself, even when the winding path grows treacherous, steep, and riddled with thorns.